Hi everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to be planting some bare rooted plants. So I thought I'd bring you along and show you how I do it. So we've got a Weigela, I think it's how you pronounce it, and a climbing rose. So these come bare rooted, this is how they come. They normally come in a little box. And the roots are wrapped up in a little bag or some cling film. So we've got a climbing rose, purple climber, and a Weigela Bristol ruby. So we're going to plant these today. So first thing you got to do is unwrap them and soak them in water for a little while. Sometimes it says 24 hours, sometimes it says 20 minutes, an hour, it doesn't really matter. As long as you moisten it up for a little while before you plant it. So I'll bring you over and we'll make a start. So we're going to get these out of these bags now. One thing I will say is you want to get these before this starts happening. You want to get them just as the buds are starting to develop, just like that. If you go through them and you find any which are not sprouting or looking a bit dried up, just go for the ones which are just starting to sprout. You can see the buds are just about to start swelling. This one, the roots are already starting to grow, so I've left it a bit late, but it will still be fine. We just have to be extra careful with the new roots that have developed. You can see there's some white ones growing here, so they're new. So first thing we've got to do is get out the bag, and we've got to soak it in the water for a bit. So there's the roots. So we'll put that in the water. Doesn't have to be in there too long. It's just to rehydrate the roots. A lot of the time they're quite damp in there anyway. So this is the rose. This one's in cling film. So this one's only just started sprouting. When we first got it, the buds were just starting, but it's been sat for a few days, so it started growing already. So you can see a root there, a new one. So we've just got to be careful with them. So we'll leave them in there for 20 minutes or so. Should be plenty of time. Okay, so these have been soaking in here for about 20 minutes or so. So I've just been and found a couple of pots. I'm going for slightly deeper ones. They don't need to be very big at the moment, as long as the root ball fits in them. And then we'll let them grow in these pots until the roots have filled the pot. Then you can either pot them up or plant them in the ground. Bear in mind you can plant these bare rooted plants straight in the ground if you wish. But I just find if you do it in a pot with some nice compost, get them established first, you get better results. And then you can shelter them from the worst of the weather as well. So all I'm using is multi-purpose compost, and I've just mixed a couple of handfuls of grit in there, horticultural grit, but as long as you wash the grit before you use it, you can use any grit. So we'll make a start on potting these up. We've got to sort the roots out a little bit, and I'm going to try and remove the soily stuff that was on them. You don't have to, but it'll just make things easier so we can see all the roots. Okay, so we'll start off with the climbing rose, because it's got the simplest root system. So when you plant it, try and make sure the roots spread out rather than just sticking it straight in. So if any of the roots are crossing underneath or going funny directions, just try and guide them so that they're outwards and they're not going to grow underneath the plant or back up through the surface. So this little black pot should be fine for that one for now. So you just be careful, if it's got new roots, just be careful you don't damage them too much. More will develop anyway. You can see we've got little white roots at the top here and stuff. So first thing we'll do is fill the pot up a little bit. Probably go with about halfway, depending on how big the pot is and how big the roots are on your plant. And then once we've got it about halfway filled, we'll get the plant in and we'll spread the roots out so that they go down and around the edges. Get it to the right height. So this lumpy bit here is where it was grafted on, up to about there. I don't want to bury any of these stems under the soil. So about there should be good. Hopefully you can see. So plant height's going to be about there. So we fill the rest of the pot up. Holding it at the right angle that you want it. And just make sure the soil goes around the roots and you don't get any big air gaps in there. And then just very gently firm it down, but don't press it down, don't compress the soil, but just gently firm it in, like so. Leave a nice little gap at the top of the pot so the water doesn't run straight off. That should be good. And last thing is to give it a good water. And we'll let the water soak in for a little while and then I'll come back and give it another water. So we'll move on to the next one. That's that one done. So we're going to do the Weigela now. If I'm saying that wrong, please let me know. And you see it's got a lot more roots than the rose did. That's because it's started growing and it's probably a more vigorous bush than the rose. So I'm going to wash off some of this soil that's on here. I'm just going to swish it around in here and try and get some of it off, just so I can see the roots. So we don't want to just plant it straight in like that, because otherwise these ones that have kind of twisted round, they'll just grow up and get all tangled and knotted. We want these to grow outwards, so we want to spread the roots so that they're like that when they're planted. So I'm not sure if this is a grafted tree. I don't think it is, it's probably a cutting. You can see it's got a couple of big roots here which are sticking up. We could remove them, but what I'll do is try and get them to go downwards. I broke that one a little bit, but it doesn't matter. There's plenty of roots here to sustain the tree, so we could even remove that one. If it comes off easily, I'll just take it off. Okay, so we'll plant it in the pot like that. Right, so I'll get the pot for it. I think this one should be about the right size for now. It's a bit on the small side, but once it's established and growing, it'll be potted on or planted in the ground. If you plan on keeping it in the pot, make sure it's a bit bigger than this. Maybe twice that sort of size if it's going to stay in there for a couple of years. But if it's just to establish, then as long as the roots fit in the pot, that's fine. So again, we'll just fill the pot up a little bit. probably go for about a third of the way in this pot because these roots are quite big. And we'll tuck the roots around the edges, make sure they spread out and go downwards rather than just shoving it in. Some of them will end up forking upwards. And then once you're happy with where the roots are, start filling it in and try and get it underneath and around all the roots. You don't want to trap any air pockets in there. And then just make sure you got the angle right before you start firming in the soil. So that sort of angle I think should be good. Out there. And then same as with the other one, we just fill in the rest of the pot with the soil. And gently firm it down as you go. And you want to bury it so all the roots are completely buried, but you want the root base quite close to the surface. You don't want to bury too much of the trunk, so like that is ideal. And then the last thing we always do with bare rooted plants is to give them a good water. And then we'll let that soak in, and I'll come back a little while later and give it another good water. And then I won't let it dry out for a good few weeks until it's established some roots in there. Then we can let the soil dry out a bit more. Okay, so that's both of them repotted. One last thing that I normally do is to place a few rocks around the surface of the soil. We've got we've got 4 cats, so they do like to dig in fresh compost, but also it does help to keep a bit of moisture in, and it will hold the trees more stable from the wind and stuff, the plants. So that's that done. So they'll hopefully grow nicely now that they're potted up. Okay guys, so thanks very much for watching. So today we potted up these bare rooted plants, a Weigela and a climbing rose. So this one had a bit more of a complicated root system, the Weigela. We did remove that one root, but it'll still be fine. It's got plenty of roots left and it's a good time to do it. So hopefully these will be good, and these will be going out the front of the house, so they probably won't be in any of my other videos, but you never know, I might update you on them in the future. So thanks a lot for watching everyone, hope you all enjoyed, hope you all have a great week, and I'll see you on the next one.